Hey y'all, Rajava the Ruler, and we're back. I posted a post and I told y'all to hit me with y'all questions, hit me with your best shot, and we was gonna do a Q&A video, and we are here. So let's get right into it. Now, y'all gave some good questions, okay? I cannot answer all of them, but I will do my best to hit y'all. Okay, hit as many as I can. I'm gonna post a comment on here on the screen so y'all can see the exact comment, so y'all know I ain't flipping it, twisting it, trying to change it to make it easier on myself. We're gonna get into it. And also a disclaimer, I know I'm supposed to look into this camera to talk to y'all, so if I start veering off and looking at the screen, it's a habit. Okay, I'm not narcissistic. I just want to make sure I ain't looking cross-eyed or nothing, you know? So let's get into the first question. And I skimmed through these questions, but I didn't necessarily look at the questions because I wanted to off the dribble. I ain't want it to be where it sounds like all my answers are scripted. So I want my questions and answers to be off the dribble. So I glanced at some of these questions, but I have not sat down and let's see, okay? So let's get it. The first question is, I am reading this off of my handy duty iPad. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm reading the question. Our first question is from Impress Leo 4067. And the question says, I remember that you said that you excelled in school. Have you ever thought about going back and getting a degree? Also, have you thought about going to different juvenile detention centers and sharing your story? I did excel in school, and I've always loved school. When I first got out of prison, I did enroll to get my bachelor's in business administration, because out of all degrees, I was like, that's the one I would actually use, because I've always wanted to be in business for myself. Didn't really know what it was, so I did enroll, and I did about a semester in business school. And it just wasn't for me at the time. I was working 2 jobs, so trying to go to school and work, it was not working well for me. I did not have time to sleep. I barely had time to shower, wash clothes, do anything, because I was working so much. And then having to sit in front of a computer at night and do lessons, I had to listen to live lectures and everything. It was just too much for me at the time. And also, I took small business in prison. So I also took entrepreneurship, and a lot of that stuff I had already learned. Now, of course, getting a degree is going to make it way more in detail, and you're going to go deep dive into every little topic. So of course it's more beneficial than what I took in prison, but I had the basic knowledge for business. So I ended up dropping out of school. I don't plan on going back. I don't feel like you need a degree, and I don't feel like I need one. I used to feel like I did, but with me already losing so much time, I really don't have time to sit around and get a degree for 4 years and then start planning my life. Now, there are people who start at my age and it's successful for them. I just don't feel like it's for me. Okay. Next, we have Fashion Junkie 10. And her question was, what do you feel would be beneficial for people such as myself to do that can help support women who are incarcerated? This is something that I've always wanted to do, but just not sure where to start. I wanted to really have an impact. That is an amazing question, and I am glad that you actually want to do something about it. As far as what I would recommend you doing, there are organizations that do the indigent packages, that donate stuff to the prisons so that women can have it. I would recommend finding out what those organizations are or how you can donate to those people, and then you can send in whatever amount you can send in. There are also websites for women that want pen pals, men that want pen pals. I would recommend you reaching out and just writing, because there's so much wrong with the system that an individual person, it's only so much that you can do. I do later on in life plan on doing an organization that makes it easier on people in prison, but the fact that I'm on probation and I can't go visit a prison makes it kind of hard. So that's in the distant future. All right, and our next question we have at Mimi Monet. She had a couple questions. The first one says, what's the hardest part about adjusting to life outside of prison? The hardest part about adjusting was everything. Oh my goodness, literally everything. Everything had changed. I remember going to the movies, and you know how they got those fancy fountain drink machines where it's all touchscreen, and then you touch what kind you want, you touch what fountain drink, what size, and all of that. I had no idea how to work that thing, so I was sitting there for the longest, and there was people behind me girl, Like, we thirsty, the movie about to start. And it took me so long to try to figure out that machine. So simple stuff like that. So much has changed. Trying to find a job, there was nobody accepting paper applications, and they were like, go online. And I hadn't been online in years. So so many things. I'm gonna have to do a video about just trying to adjust when I first got out, but everything about re-entering society was a struggle. It was so hard to adjust, but I rolled with the punches. Next question. What are some obstacles you've overcome despite having a record? Well, the main ones: housing, finding a car, and finding a job. Those were the three main obstacles that I know I had to overcome regardless of how hard it was. I mean, I couldn't give up. Ain't like I could just walk everywhere. I live in the city. Ain't like I could be homeless. I'm on probation, so I have to have an address. Like, you can literally violate your probation from being homeless, right? And I had to find employment because ain't nobody just passing out free money. Like, so those three I had to overcome. Out of all of those, the hardest one for me was finding somewhere to stay. Like, the basic necessity. Finding somewhere for me to stay was the hardest of them all. But those are the three that I overcame because I was not playing. Like, we was gonna get there one way or the other. Like, wasn't nothing gonna stop me. I don't care how many no's I got, I was gonna keep going. Next question. Do you feel out of touch or behind technology, music, trends, etc.? So out of place. I feel so far behind. When it comes to music, I've posted a few times, like on my Snap, like, hey, anybody got any music suggestions? People do not be trying to give me suggestions. So my playlist, all of them are outdated. All of them. I don't know what's new. Like, I came home, people was talking about Young Boy. I didn't know who a Young Boy was. Like, Kodak Black, I had heard of him when I was locked up, but I had to get readjusted to the new rappers and how they rap and all the new R&B artists and the new types of music, because music now is not the same as it was when I went back in. So it was definitely adjustment. I'm still behind times when it comes to music. Technology, the thing about technology is it's fun. So even if you are behind with technology, people tend to pick up faster in that area than any other because it's fun. Like, we love getting on our iPads. We love, you know what I'm saying, getting on our phones and stuff. So it's so much easier. I was out of touch. I think iPhone came out when I was in prison, like, or maybe right before I left. So my sister bought my phone when I first came home. I wanted an Android because I was used to Android, but she bought me an iPhone because she was like, you got to be able to FaceTime us. So I had to learn everything Apple, and if you know, you know. Apple don't make it as easy as possible. And as far as trends, girl, I'm still behind times. When I first came home, I was dressing so old-fashioned and so old school, no swag. Like, the stuff that I thought was lit and hot before I left, girl, I looked like somebody's grandma trying to get dressed. Like, I definitely had to learn the new trends. Like, how I was getting my nails and everything was like, all of it was grandma. I'm still kind of grandma, but you know, I'm like the hip grandma now. I ain't the auntie yet. You got to go from grandma to auntie to older sister, and then you in there. I'm at hip grandma. I got to drop down to auntie, honey. And next question. Is it harder to relate to people with all that you've been through? And then she said, okay, I think that's enough. Yes, it is very hard to relate to people. And it's not their fault and it's not my fault. Like, it's no fault on anyone. It's just, when you talk to people, you hang out with people, like, just think about the things y'all talk about. Just think about what's important to you. Just think about the goals y'all have. They're not going to be the same as somebody who had their life put on pause for a decade. Like, there are people who've never been to prison that feel a sense of urgency all the time. But the fact that I've been to prison, it's like my sense of urgency is multiplied by like 1,000. Even when I have days off, like, I feel like I could be doing something. It's something I should be doing. So when it comes to the topic of conversations, what people like to talk to, what they like to do, I don't necessarily like to talk about or like to do. I don't really have time for like small talk, for long periods of time, for gossip. I like talking to people who are business minded, like goal oriented, trying to do things positive, like good vibes. And no offense and no shade to nobody, but honey, not everybody want to do that. Like, if I want to go talk about the Bible for an hour, not too many people gonna do that. So it is hard for me to relate, because when you've gone through things in your life, it matures you trauma matures you, and if you've been through a level of trauma that the people around you have not been through, the maturity level is going to be off. So what you feel is important and valuable is not going to necessarily be what they expect, if that makes sense. Next, we have Deshane Ricks 5790, and he says, hey, was wondering if you hired your own attorney or did you have a public defender? Love your videos. Thank you. I wish I had a lawyer. I didn't have any money, okay? I know I went to jail for trafficking in cocaine, but baby, it was not my cocaine and it was not me that was doing the trafficking, okay? So baby was broke. I did not have a job. First of all, back then I was too lazy. Who I was working for? No one. I was not getting on nobody's clock. So I didn't have any money. When I got arrested, I did not talk to my co-defendant after that. He did bond me out of jail, but I lost all communication. So I was not, even though I needed a lawyer, I was not finna, I didn't want to be fooled up with him. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want nothing to do with him at that time. And I did not know. And so he didn't get me a lawyer because I wouldn't communicate. So I went to trial and everything with a public defender. Yes, I did. I had no money for a lawyer. All right, so now we got Mr. G Time. Can you please self-publish your story on Amazon? I want to read it and make it available in my city library / correctional facility. I'm sure it would be helpful to thousands of people. That just warms my heart. I don't know what self-publish on Amazon means, but I appreciate you for the info. I'm gonna have to look into it. I have recently started writing my book. I think I'm on page like 8. Listen, I'm on like page 8, okay? So I have started and it is in the making. I want it to be finished 2023. I don't want to be one of those people who are writing a book for years. I do want it to be done and published, hard copy in your hand, 2023. So I appreciate the support and I am working on it. Okay, and next question is from Martha 8977. What did you know and how did you feel about the nationwide uprising after G. Floyd's murder in the summer of 2020? How did what was happening out here affect life inside the prison? So I came home June 15th of 2020. So I came home like while that was happening. So I wasn't incarcerated when that happened to him. But I do remember back when Trayvon Martin was killed and, you know, George Zimmerman, he went to court and all of that and he was found not guilty. When I tell you, we was pissed off, okay? We was angry, and now we did not appreciate that at all. Like, I'm talking about, it was a lot of controversy in that. I mean, officers and all was like vocal about it, like upset. We did not appreciate it, and it wasn't even like, I know Trayvon was black, but it's not even always about the fact that somebody's black. So I don't feel like, oh, because he was black, he should have had justice, but if he was white, he shouldn't have had justice. I feel like the fact that he had breath in his body at all, he deserved justice. It doesn't matter that he's black or white, but what upsets black people a lot when it happens to black people is because we already feel like we get the shit end of the stick in society and when it comes to certain things, you know? So when something like that happens, it just makes, it's like the icing on the cake. It's like, you already doing this to us and then you want to do this to us and he get away with it. So it causes more frustrations and stuff in the black community, not just because Trayvon was black. It's not like if he was white, we would have been like, oh, well, you know, we don't feel like that. George Floyd, like, rather he was green, you know what I'm saying? He's still like, what happened to him, that was crazy what happened to him. It don't matter what race he is. It's just when they're black, it's like a double slap in the face. You know what I'm saying? It's a slap in the face regardless if somebody loses their life in a horrible way like they did. But when they're black and you're black and you hear about that happening, it's just a slap in the face because it's like all we've been through in this country, and it's like, can we please be seen as human, you know? So I was out here when the whole George Floyd thing happened, but when that happened with Trayvon, honey, we was upset. All right, I'm gonna do one more of these because this video is getting kind of long. I'm gonna have to do a part 2. I don't like doing a part 2 because I feel like, girl, get it all out in the first video. But I'm trying to give y'all good answers, like not just yes, no, maybe so. Okay, so this is the last one and we're gonna go to the part 2. This is from Kayla Williams 5951. Do you think the justice system sets felons up for failure after being released? If so, what would you change so that the rate of people returning to prison after being released is lower? You know what, Kayla? That was a damn good question. And I don't want to cut your answer short, so I'm going to make that the first question on my next video. I see y'all because, baby, we're going to have to get into that one. Like, we're going to have to dive deep. I see you, Kayla. Go to part 2.